Okay, so also from my side, welcome to the session. It's called "How to Get Rich Trading Shipping Containers." Thanks for everyone for joining. But before we start, let's quickly introduce ourselves. You should see my screen, and now you should see our faces again. I'm Malte. I've recently rejoined Container Exchange. I'm building data products now at xChange, which should enable our members to make the best possible data-backed business decision. And with me today is Jacob. You probably know him, who has started the container trading marketplace at xChange a bit more than a year ago now, I think, with a mission to give buyers and sellers of shipping containers the most compelling shopping experience in the end. And with that, I'm handing over back to you, Jacob. Yeah, go ahead, enjoy the session. Thanks.
Awesome. So maybe a few quick words for the agenda first. Want to sort of guide it along on a few key questions. First one, fairly straightforward. How do you actually make money trading containers? And then already looking a bit ahead, how do you actually find out which stretches to work on and which works best to make the most money trading containers? Then sort of into the data insights direction, how do you actually know how much you should sell or buy a container for? And then as the last step, how to actually operationally handle everything connected to buying, selling, leasing containers efficiently. And already a quick teaser for a small example at the end. I'm gonna talk about that in the last slide. So let's jump right into it. First question, how do you actually make money trading containers? And if you want to have the really simple answer, it's you just buy containers for a cheaper price than you can sell them. And when you buy them cheap and you sell them for more expensive, there's a profit margin in there, and that's how you make money. And a lot of companies are doing it like this at the moment, and it works. It's sort of a proven thing. It works in many different industries. So you just maybe buy from a bulk seller in your regular location, and then you sell those containers to smaller customers or to customers in the industry or whatnot. So one example, maybe you buy 50 end of lease containers from a leasing company in Rotterdam, and then you sell them locally to end users in Rotterdam for $50 more, and you sort of split up this bigger batch of 50 containers into smaller ones. It works. You can make money, but there are several problems. First of all, the margins can become quite low. There's a risk of being replaced in this because the bigger leasing company, they could just decide to sell to some other person who maybe is willing to pay a bit higher price, or they could sell to the end users directly, or even worse. And we've seen that in the last 1.5 years quite a lot. There's just a reduced supply or no supply at all from these sort of regular partners. And then if you're sort of relying on sourcing your containers from one source in this location, and then this source doesn't have any more supply, then it's kind of hard to keep your business going, because then you don't have anything for sale. So those are a few of the problems, and there are already sort of innovative container traders who found a solution on that, and the solution for this is actually taking matters into your own hands, which in our case means sourcing your containers yourself, and ideally sourcing them not only in your target location, but sourcing them from other places, using sort of selected stretches to bring containers from A to B. So the general idea behind that is still you buy containers where they're cheap, but then you don't sell them in the same location, but you actually move them to your, for example, main selling location, and then sell them there for a higher price. And how companies currently actually do this, they find sort of their selected partners that they trust. I would say before COVID, you can sort of meet new people in-person trade shows. Now it's maybe digital. Maybe you know them from your previous job. Maybe you got them recommended. So finding selected partners that you really want to work with, and then starting to work with them on a selective stretch. So building a trusted relationship to actually bring these containers to to your location. That's how people are still doing it, and it's a better way than just sourcing them at one location and selling them at the same. Maybe as an example, you could buy, and I know these prices are just for the example, there's sadly no containers anymore for $1,000 in Antwerp, but let's say you buy a container for $1,000 there, then you get it moved to Istanbul, paying $100 to move the container there, and then in Istanbul the price is 1,300, and you sell it there, which means you end up with a $200 margin on this trade and on this deal, which is great, but there's again several problems and maybe questions. Maybe the first question: how do you actually know that this stretch is the best possible stretch for your target or main selling location? Maybe you just don't know. You just rely on sort of the partners that you have, and if they're good, if you make more money than if you just do it locally, that's already good. But there could be options out there that you just don't know of at the moment, that could bring you even higher margins and at the end get you more profit. So there's this question looming around, and there's several problems in this approach as well. So you sort of have to find a place where everything is right, all the three components: the price to buy a container, the price of the pickup charge or credit and per diems to lease the container somewhere, and then the price, of course, again, to sell it. So three components. If one of them changes dramatically or also changes slightly, then this whole thing could again already not work. So for our example, if prices in Antwerp rise by $200, or if the move from Antwerp to Istanbul gets $200 more expensive, or if the prices in Istanbul drop by $200, or if something small happens in each of them, then this move already is not lucrative anymore, and you basically just have to stop doing it because you would be losing money. And if you only have one or two of these stretches, then it's probably getting quite hard again to find a different alternative. And actually, for this example, Antwerp to Istanbul or Northern Europe to Turkey, I've seen these moves done a lot, 1.5 years ago or so. Now they're not as frequent anymore because just too many of these variables have changed in a direction where it just doesn't make sense for people, or doesn't make as much sense as often for people to do these moves. And then, of course, you have to switch somewhere else. And sort of maybe the second problem, building trusted partnerships really takes time. You have to maybe go to a trade show. You have to meet people several times. You have to really be sure that this all works out. And it's then hard to have more than a few selected stretches and to build a global network that just by yourself, that's kind of tricky. But we have a few solutions for these problems. And with that, I'm actually going to hand back over to Malte.
Cool, thanks. If you want to identify the best opportunities and want to find ways to maximize the profit from buying a container in one location, leasing it out, and selling it somewhere else, as Jakob described before, there are basically two situations that you want to identify and want to make use of them. The first one is a price spread between different locations, and this is something you can easily see when looking at a bar chart like the one I'm showing you at the moment. This is showing current average sales offer prices in over 30 locations. And by the way, those visualizations I'm going to show you are screenshots from our new tool called Trading Insights, and that I will come back to in a bit. And here in this example, you see that the price difference between Qingdao and Hamburg is currently at $2,600. And if we then look at the next slide, looking at the price development over time, we see clear trends upwards, of course, but also in the last weeks we can identify trends and decide on the right timing for buying or selling a container. And this decision can even further be supported by checking the price forecast for the next week, which is also part of Trading Insights at the moment. And then the missing part of the puzzle to actually finalize the calculation that Jakob already described are the current leasing prices. And since in this example that I showed you, we're moving from a surplus to a deficit location, we most probably would have to pay the user to pick up the container. And maybe you could quickly use the chat so that it's a little more interactive now, and type in what you think, how much profit we can actually make on this stretch. And as we saw before, the price difference is around $2,600, so it comes down to the pickup charges. But maybe you can, just type in some numbers, throw in, and let's see how good your estimates are. Okay, I'm gonna wait a few more seconds, otherwise I'll just continue. No. Can we get rich? Hopefully. Okay, cool. Then I'm just going to continue. I mean, that's probably the problem, that no one dares to set prices here. So what we have done is that we have created the leasing prices for Trading Insights, which will show the minimum, the maximum, and median values. And if we use this for the example that we're showing here, we see that we currently, as a supplier, would have to pay $150 to the user to bring it from Hamburg to Qingdao. Bringing it all together, we have a profit of around $2,400 per container, which is not bad. But we can also identify a second situation that we can make use of, and this is the high pickup charges. That means that we try to make use of the high pickup charges in China's ports, for example, at the moment, and then check for a location with a high price in Europe. And we can perform exactly the same steps as before that I described, checking the same data, this time for brand new containers. And then I can see, for example, for a 40 high cube brand new container in Shanghai, which is around $7,500 the sales price, and $6,500 in Warsaw. So we have a negative price difference in this time. However, we are moving from a deficit to a surplus location this time. So we can get some money from that. So we get some pickup credit. I'm not going to ask you to type in the numbers again now. So I'm just going to continue here. But we can use the same leasing prices that we are, as I said, currently adding to Trading Insights, and get the average values of the market, and we will have $3,550 that we can get for the move from Shanghai to Warsaw, and that's what we will get from the users. In the end, we will have approximately $2,600 profit, which is even a little higher than using the first situation. And to have all of this information in one place, as I said, we have created a new tool, a beta version of the new tool called Trading Insights for our members, which basically looks like this at the moment. So it's showing exactly the same analysis that you have seen, or that we have used for our example before. It also shows some additional information about supply and demand situations at the xChange marketplace. And as I mentioned earlier, we are currently integrating also the leasing prices into the tool. Those are not only the pickup charges that we have used, but also values for per diem, 3 days, and all the stuff that you can negotiate on. And if you can't wait until the features are actually added to the tool, and would like to get the same information beforehand for specific stretches, you can, of course, reach out to me via email, via LinkedIn, even via the DCS chat here. But we will also share our contact details at the end of the presentation. So feel free to reach out. And also, of course, if you're interested in actually trying out Trading Insights in the future, then together with Leasing Insights, then please contact me anytime. And now that we have seen how to identify opportunities, how we can actually set prices, which are data-driven, and also make data-driven decisions to buy or sell containers, the open questions are how we can actually perform all those actions, and how we can actually apply all this information that we have gotten. And with that, I'm handing back over to Jacob, who will now introduce the tools that xChange has created and provides for exactly those things.
Great, thanks. Actually, really interesting. I really have to say that it almost comes down to the same sort of profit margins or profits that you can make for moves from Europe to China and China to Europe. Which really shows what kind of opportunities currently there are in sort of this buying, selling, and one-way leasing market. That next step, we actually identified the best opportunities for our use cases, either using the trading insights to really get a full overview of the whole market. Maybe also we have a feeling for the data from somewhere else, but yeah, if you want to really get the real world data, then you have to get it from there. And then the next step is actually executing on these sort of plans. So let's say we now identify we want to actually do the move from Hamburg to Qingdao. What do we have to do? First, of course, we have to find containers in Hamburg that we can actually buy for a good price. And that you can do in the trading marketplace, which is the two screenshots on the left. So there's a search. You can just directly search for containers in Hamburg. You can select different types. You press the search button and you get a big bunch of offers from traders that can currently sell containers in Hamburg. I'll probably suggest to start a few negotiations, see which ones are maybe the best price or the best quality, or just a partner that you know that you can really trust. They release on time. They're just great to work with. So then I would say you negotiate the trading deal almost to the point where you fully accept it. So you agree and your partner. And then in the same time, and that you can see on the right, you should also check for a connected leasing deal. In our case, then supplying containers from Hamburg to Qingdao. Again, there's a search. So you see the pattern is fairly similar. There's a search. This time you have to select two locations. So in the case, Hamburg and as a pickup location, Qingdao as a drop-off location. Or if you don't want to only do it to Qingdao, but generally to China where the prices are high, you can also insert China. And then again, you press search, you find the matches, and again, you start negotiating with all the partners that you want to negotiate with. Try to get the maybe lowest possible pickup charge, and then again, bring it to a point where it's almost an accepted deal, and then really make sure that both of these deals are secure, both the seller in Hamburg in our case and the user from Hamburg to China. They're really firm on their commitments. And then once you are sure that this happens, in essence, press the confirm button on both the leasing request and the trading deal at almost the exact same time to sort of avoid any problems that you secure one deal, but then the other deal falls through and you sort of are left in the middle. So I always recommend almost accept these deals at the same time. And then once you did, of course, executing on them. So in the trading deal case, just have to make the payment, then you will receive the release. Then you give this release over to the company that wants to use the container. Then you have to wait a couple of days if the container is transported by rail, or a couple of weeks if it's on a vessel. And then once the container arrives in China, then you either get them to your own depot and then sell them from there, or what we also see quite often is that people actually already start selling their boxes while they're still on the way, and then they deliver them directly to the depot of their buyer as sort of a gate buy deal, which then usually some kind of DPP is negotiated. So if there's any damages, let's say below $100, then the buyer takes care of them. If there's any damages above, then the seller covers them. That's sort of a good way to avoid disputes and lengthy discussions that don't really help the buyer or the seller. So that's how you can basically execute on this. So find containers on the trading marketplace, resell them on the trading marketplace in China if you want or if you can, and then find the connected leasing, in this case a supplying deal on the leasing marketplace. I think quite a few of the people who are listening already have access to both these platforms. If you don't, again, feel free to reach out. We can show you how that works in more interactive detail. We can show you every sort of nook and cranny of the platform if you are if you want to get a bit more detailed information. And with that, maybe to the last slide, which I already teased at the beginning. And an example of a company that actually recently joined xChange in March. They got a subscription for trading and leasing, and they started doing exactly this. And before they joined, they definitely didn't have a growth rate like this for their trading operations. Yeah, and then they started exactly on the stretches, China to Europe and Europe to China, doing exactly what we just described, and then really ramping up their operations, always reinvesting their profits into buying even more containers and supplying even more containers. And yeah, they are really good because they're replying quickly on the platform. They're really diligent in sort of planning out their moves, and for them it really worked. And I'm pretty sure, I already know it works for many other companies as well, but I'm pretty sure everybody who's really willing to get behind this, they can make it work like this as well. And just to stress that again, in this case, it's actually a one-person company that started doing this, that was not making closely as much business before they joined xChange, and now one person can get these kind of profits doing these leasing and trading combined moves and basing it on the data that can be found in the Trading Insights tool. Yeah, and with that, maybe to the last promised slide from Malte. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out on those emails, write us on LinkedIn, write us on the chat on the DCS platform. Or if you have any questions now as well, post them into the Q&A section here in the call, and we can actually try to directly address them and give you an answer. We still have a few more minutes left in the session, so if you have questions, anything that you want to know, post it in there, and we can have a look. I'm going to open it now. Let's see if somebody wants to know something, or if Malte and I explained everything in so much detail that there's no open questions left.
It seems like we did.
Nice. But we will stay. Ah, there's one. Is it important to know what is transported in the containers? Is that a concern? Actually, really good question. So if I was doing these kind of moves, and I buy a container and then I supply them to somebody, I actually would want to know roughly what's transported in there. For example, I know that there's quite a lot of freight forwarders who do, for example, woodlog shipments from Northern Europe to China. And I would want to avoid that somebody ships massive woodlogs in my containers that I maybe bought in a really good condition, because these kind of cargoes can for sure damage the containers. So I would then go to the leasing deal and would actually ask, hey, what kind of goods do you want to transport? If they say paper cartons, then I would say, oh, fine, there's no big risk of damaging the container. If they say wood logs, or if they would, I don't know, want to transport stones or something that's a bit more dangerous, I would probably pass on that, or just charge a way higher pickup fee or a lower one if I want to move to China. So yeah, I hope that answered the question. Next one. Startup logistics company in Turkey joined xChange platform weeks ago, but it's hard to find trade SOC containers. Shipping lines are giving high rates for SOC containers. How can I make money based? Yeah, I know this is sort of one of the, maybe, I don't know if you want to answer it, Malte, or if I should just keep on talking, but I'll jump onto that one. This is one of the sort of unknowns in this. Shipping lines, sometimes they want to push their COC boxes, they want to get them moved from one place to another, so they would just increase the rates for SOCs, which in some cases just can make it harder to make these kind of deals. That's why I also said at the beginning, actually, for Turkey, I see less deals in this direction than we saw a year or a year and a half ago. yeah, I have to look into it. Maybe I'll connect to you later on. If it's based on if it's because of the sort of changes in prices, or it's just not possible because of the high SOC rates at the moment. But as I said, if you're starting to do business on xChange, you don't only have to limit yourself on stretches to Turkey anymore. There's hundreds of people who want to buy containers in other places as well. And the last example that we showed in the last slide, this company actually didn't do deals previously Europe to China, but they actually did most of their deals just inside the US. So what I would recommend to you, when some stretches don't work, check Trading Insights, maybe reach out to Malte to get detailed information about the leasing prices, and try to switch to different routes to quickly sort of seize the opportunities for bigger profits in other stretches.
We actually got another answer directly from one of our listeners. Amanda also said that they used to trade a lot in Turkey, but not sending that much anymore because they're not willing to pay the current market prices. So this is also one reason. But as you said, you can of course then just use different stretches if that's a possibility.
Then there was another question: how often do containers get total damage during a one-way leasing process? Since I'm the sort of the product manager for trading, I don't exactly know this number, but if you maybe write your email address down there, I can check in with my colleague Timo, who's the total expert on this, and then I can give you an answer later on. I don't hear often that there's total damages. They can happen, and I always recommend book an insurance for that, because there is an insurance on xChange for total loss of containers, and then you just cover this additional risk as well, which again, the company that we showed in the last example, they always book total loss, or they get the user to book total loss so that they avoid this. But yeah, having said that, there's not too often that I hear, at least in the office chat, that I hear that there's big stressful problems around it. But I don't know the exact number. Great. Yeah, and then thanks, Amanda, for also giving an answer to this Turkey question. That's sort of just a thing. If one of the things change, maybe in this case the buying or the selling price in Turkey, people are just not willing to pay high enough prices anymore, then the whole equation doesn't work anymore, and then you should switch to a different stretch that makes more money. Like the example that we just made earlier, China to Europe, Europe to China, you can make more than $2,000 per container, per 40 haiku for this move. And with that, maybe since there are no more questions.
There is actually one more question, or two actually.
Yeah.
So go ahead, sorry.
Maybe I'll read it out. How can I move containers from Europe to China? Do I need partners in Europe to lease the containers to? Sorry for money. No, not sorry for the questions. That's exactly why we're doing this. So moving from containers from Europe to China, this is what you can do on the leasing marketplace on xChange. So if you have a bunch of containers in Europe, let's say 10, you can upload them as a supply requirement on the leasing marketplace. And companies who actually move these containers from Europe to Asia, because they have a shipment of electronic devices from Europe to Asia, they would book these containers from you. They would pick them up at your depot. They would stuff them with their cargo. They would book the slot on the vessel. They would bring them to China, and then they would drop them off at the depot that you specified to them. So everything around sort of actually booking the slot or customs of this is not with you in this case, but actually the user of the container takes care of it. Yeah, I hope this answered your question. If not, also if you already joined xChange, feel free to reach out in the service chat at any time. If you haven't joined xChange, join xChange. There's a lengthy sort of onboarding process where you get a personal training session where sort of a logistics expert explains you how you can do all of this. And
I think for
then
the next question on tank containers, there will be another session which is actually focused on tank containers by our colleague Ramzi, and he will probably be better answering this question. Since we, at least for Trading Insights, we're not covering tanks at the moment. We're just focusing on the standard ones, so I can't give you a clear answer on that. Maybe Jacob has more information, but I think best is waiting for the session with Ramzi.
Yeah, great. And then we have one last question from Daniel, but I see that Amandine is already writing an answer there. I think there was a question about sort of if this is recorded. I don't know. I assume it is, and then we can also share the recording for the people who joined in a bit later. Great. With that, I think we're already 2 minutes over the time. So I would again thank you all of you guys for listening in, and hope you now know how to get rich trading containers. And as we said, feel free to reach out on these 2 email addresses or write us on LinkedIn. Happy to give any assistance that's needed, explain more, or also sort of get challenged by your thoughts or tricky questions. Yeah, with that, thanks guys, and hopefully speak soon or one day also in person in a real trade fair in person, maybe next year in the intermodal or next year in the DCS. We'll see.